All right, let's talk about the world of software development in 2026. Because right now, AI isn't some far-off trend we're thinking about. No, it's a full-blown gold rush, and it's happening as we speak. The entire landscape has changed, and today we're going to map out this new frontier. Okay, let's just kick things off with a number that sets the scene perfectly. A staggering 90%. That's how many developers are using AI tools in their day-to-day work. This isn't just a niche thing for early adopters anymore. This is the new industry standard being forged right now. And make no mistake, this isn't some small prospecting operation by a few enthusiasts. We are talking about a massive, industry-wide stampede. But, just like any gold rush, not everyone's moving at the same pace, and not everyone is striking it rich. So let's take a look at who's actually leading the charge. Now, this is where it gets really interesting, because the rush is, well, it's uneven. You got tech, media, and telecom way out in front. Almost 70% of those companies are already deep into AI. Financial services is right there with them at 63%, using it for everything you can imagine. But then you look over at manufacturing and government, they're kind of still packing their gear. They're lagging behind, dealing with old systems and a ton of regulations. And here is the fuel for this whole fire. The reason everyone is rushing in? The promise of striking it rich is very, very real. On average, for every single dollar a company puts into generative AI, they're getting back $3.70. With an ROI like that, it's absolutely no wonder the race is on. So what are the tools of this new trade? Well, the old school pickaxes and shovels have evolved, big time. The tools developers are using today aren't just giving helpful little suggestions, they're becoming these powerful, pretty much autonomous collaborators. Yeah, we're way past simple autocomplete here. The new frontier is all about agentic AI, and you should think of it less like a tool and more like a digital teammate. You give it a high-level goal, and it actually has the ability to figure out the how all by itself. And this is a massive shift in what these things can do. In the past, an AI assistant would just suggest the next few words of code, right? Right in the single file you were working on. Now Agentic AI gets the entire project's architecture. It makes coordinated changes across dozens of files at once, and it runs with complex plans without you having to hold its hand every step of the way. So here's how these new agents actually work. A developer can give it a really high-level goal, something like, hey, refactor our authentication module to use this new security protocol. And the agent just gets to work. It analyzes the goal, it breaks it down into a logical plan, it writes the code, it runs the test, and this part is the most impressive to me. It actually tests its own work and keeps iterating until the job is done. And the market is just flooded with these powerful new tools now, each one with its own kind of philosophy. You've got these deeply integrated development environments like Cursor, which has seen just insane adoption. Then you've got standalone powerhouses like Claude, which is amazing at deep, logical thinking. And even specialized agents like Devon AI, which basically acts as a complete sandboxed AI engineer. Okay, so with all these ridiculously powerful tools, you'd think productivity would just be through the roof, right? But this is where our story takes a really fascinating turn. Because, as they say, in any gold rush, not everything that glitters is gold. We're pumping out more code than ever before, but it's not quite as simple as it looks. At first glance, the payoff looks enormous. Surveys are showing that 1 in 5 developers is saving over 8 hours a week using AI. That's a full workday, just given back to you. That's a massive, massive boost in what looks like productivity. But this brings up the critical question, right? Is all this new AI-generated code actually helping teams move faster on the things that really matter? Is all this quantity actually translating to quality and, real velocity? And here's the paradox, laid bare by a landmark study. It's a bit of a shocker. When you look at complex, nuanced software engineering tasks, AI assistants actually slowed down expert developers by nearly 20%. They were writing more code, sure, but it took them longer to get to the correct final answer. And this quote from a developer survey just hits the nail on the head. It gets right to the heart of the problem. See, the time you save writing that first draft, it's often completely lost, and then some, on debugging code that is subtly but critically wrong. It's the almost right that turns into a massive, frustrating time sink. So that productivity paradox, it's really just the tip of the iceberg. These prospectors are also stumbling into other, more serious risks that can totally undermine their entire operation if they're not super careful.
Just look at this data on the quality of code that these large language models are spitting out. A staggering 2/3 of it is either just plain wrong or contains security vulnerabilities. And of the code that is functionally correct, only about half of it is actually secure. So that means only about 17% of what's being generated is both correct and secure. That is a huge quality control nightmare. So the real risk here is that this whole gold rush can lead to building these really unstable boomtowns. Teams are racking up crippling technical debt with code they don't fully understand. They're introducing these subtle security flaws and creating massive governance gaps with so-called shadow AI. And the senior engineers who are supposed to be the safety net, they're just burning out from the sheer volume of code they're expected to review.
So what does this all mean for the prospector, for the developer? The question isn't, will AI take my job? That's just the wrong question to ask. The right question is, how is my job going to evolve? Because believe me, it is evolving, and it's evolving fast. The focus is just shifting dramatically. Instead of spending hours and hours writing repetitive boilerplate code, the modern developer is becoming more of a system designer, an architect, a skilled AI supervisor. Your value is moving away from the manual typing and into high-level thinking, critical review, and creative problem solving.
And this just confirms it. Business owners aren't looking for a replacement, they're looking for augmentation. The human expert is actually more critical than ever before to guide, to verify, and to refine what the AI produces. The AI provides the leverage, yeah, but the human provides the judgment, and that's key. Okay, so how do you actually thrive in this new landscape without falling into all these common traps? The key is to shift from that frantic, speculative prospecting to building a sustainable operation with a clear, disciplined strategy.
I love this quote because it really captures the perfect mindset. I mean, think about it. You would never let a junior developer merge code directly into your main branch without a really thorough review, right? So why would you do it with an AI? You have to treat it like a talented but flawed collaborator that absolutely requires your guidance and your expertise. A successful strategy really boils down to 3 key actions. First, you've got to create clear rules and guardrails for how AI is used. Second, you have to continuously upskill your team to be effective AI supervisors. And third, you have to choose your tools with discipline based on what you actually need, not just whatever the latest hot trend is. So ultimately, this AI gold rush presents every single team and every developer with a choice. Are you going to chase the short-term glitter of just pumping out code as fast as possible, risking all that tech debt and burnout? Or are you going to take a more measured approach and build a lasting advantage with a thoughtful, human-led strategy? That is the question that's going to separate the flash-in-the-pan prospectors from the builders who are truly here to stay.